a beautiful day. No worries today. Cool breeze outside my window. This is the life. You're set for life. Just loving life. Retire in style with SB.
All right. So it's almost 5 o'clock, and we're getting close to our start. So anyway, I would like to welcome you to my live stream this afternoon. I know it's about 4 minutes before, but we have a good topic today, and I would like my guest speaker to have enough time to, to educate us on his topic today. So. Good afternoon, everyone in Facebook and also in YouTube. If you are watching us, give us a comment, or I would appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel too. This would be my first series for this year, 2024. So this series is all about serving the seniors and also the families of seniors on how to prepare themselves for retirement. And of course, being a realtor here in Los Angeles, I am accentuating or promoting the use of or leveraging of our rich equity on our homes. Okay, so with the present market right now, a lot of people are just holding on to their properties and they don't want to move. But especially for the baby boomers who had been in their properties for 20 years or more, this would be a great way for you to leverage on your equity and move to a more suitable home, especially with this kind of market. The world is having a lot of different issues economically, health wise, and also all the peace uncertainties in the world. So for us not to be worried about what's going on and how we can manage our retirement, I think the best way to do it is to look into what we have right now and what we can do with it while it's still early. You can either plan or you can use your equity at this time, no matter what the market is. And I assure you that Ryan, my guest speaker right now today, would be giving you a lot of insight on how to leverage on reverse mortgage. That would be my topic for today. I will have different series, a series of live streams that I'm going to be sharing with you throughout the months, and it will be about how to leverage the equity of your home so that you can retire in style and live the way you dream to be for your retirement. Okay, so anyway, I would like to let you know that Retire in Style, I started it at 2000 during the 2010 when the market was really in a shamble after 2008. A lot of people lost their homes, and in fact, there were so many people who got into short sale. So during that time, a lot of baby boomers have lost their 401ks and their homes. So me, in the with the Filipino community, there's a lot of Filipinos actually who went back to the Philippines and decided to retire over there. Some of them retired permanently there and set up a new home, and some of them was just going back and forth to the Philippines and to US. They have not really burned their bridges and went back and forth. So that would be a better way to do it, because then you will be able to cut down the cost of your living. So during that time, I said, okay, I would like to promote retiring style, giving different kinds of options. Being a lender for over 13 years in the 90s, I have different, creative ways of financing when I was helping the home buyers during that time, 90s and or even early 2000s, even now. So anyway, um, that's what happened. And for the last over 13 years now, I have been doing workshops and live streams. And during the pandemic, I was also that's when we started doing the Zoom workshops, and reaching out to you, promoting different ways on leveraging on home equity and what is the value of owning a real estate when it's time for you to retire. Okay, so tonight, I want to introduce to you Ryan. Ryan Kleiss is the founder of the reverse mortgage educators here in Southern California. He had been in the mortgage industry for 18 years and had been a consistent educator for reverse mortgage to professionals, to realtors, and also to different customers. Reverse mortgage educators created a program to help customers and agents better understand the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to their lifestyle. An agent can help in and help homeowners purchase a better home for more without for them without bringing on more financial burden in their daily lives. Likewise, agents who understand the reverse mortgage are able to assist the families of those who have one as well. So Ryan Kleiss teaches these educational seminars for real estate agents all across California. In fact, I was in one of them about 4 or 5 years ago when I just moved here in Southern California, and he continuously do that. I have also done workshops, inviting educators like Ryan over time for the last 13, 14 years that I have been doing Retire in Style workshops. And it is really important because there's always something new that we can pick up on the reverse mortgage. Reverse mortgage have had a negative connotation during the early 80s and 90s, but it has evolved, and there's a lot of advantages of looking into the reverse mortgage and using it as a leverage so that you can retire. So without further ado, let me bring Ryan to stage. Hi, Ryan. Good afternoon.
Howdy.
Thank you for joining me today. And yeah, I would give you the stage right now. You're going to be doing your presentation for the next 30 minutes. And thank you for watching us. And if you have any questions, hold on to it. Let Ryan do his presentation. It will take about maybe 30 minutes of presentation that he's going to do. And then after that, we will have a Q&A. Okay? Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, let's see here. There we go. We'll talk about this reverse mortgage thing today. But I'm definitely going to bring it current because even though the product has been roughly the same for many years, what happens with interest rates and all the things you hear about in the news actually affect our loans. So we'll do a little review of how the loan works, and then we'll talk about what's happening with the loans because of the current interest rate environment. And we'll talk about what happens if you can't get a reverse mortgage. So we'll cover quite a few things here within this 30 minutes. And well, I hope you're ready. Like FT said, I am Ryan Kleiss, and I'm a reverse mortgage educators. And we do a lot of educational services for realtors and attorneys and financial planners and everybody that needs to help, well, somebody that's retiring figure out how retirement's going to look for them. And so we know that the reverse mortgage has meant different things to different people for so many years that I decided doing classes and helping other financial professionals understand the product was probably better than just going out and giving people reverse mortgages. Because after all, we all kind of want to know how something works or what is it going to do after I get it, or all of those things. It should be nice to know up front before you actually got a loan, right? Like taking a car for a test drive. You want to know what it drives like usually before you buy it. So let's hop into this here. So let's just do a quick review of what a reverse mortgage is. And for those of you who maybe thought of it as being something other than a loan, well, it really is like your traditional loan. You know how a regular loan works. Let's say you've borrowed money to buy a home or refinance a home. Well, when you do that, you're borrowing money, you're putting your home as collateral, and then you get a statement every month. It shows how much you owe, and it shows what the payment is for the month. That's how a regular loan works. Well, a reverse mortgage isn't much the same. It's a lot like a regular loan. You've borrowed money to either buy a home or refinance a home. We've simply placed a lien on title. You'll get a statement every month. The statement will show you how much you've borrowed. It'll show you how much is available on your equity line, because a reverse mortgage kind of works like an equity line. And I guess the big difference then between a reverse and a traditional loan is with a traditional loan, you'd be expected to pay the interest that was due for the month. With a reverse mortgage, you don't have to pay the interest. In other words, we are simply letting you know. If you get the statement and you decide not to send the interest payment in, we don't care. We will simply add whatever interest was due for that month onto what you already owe us. So let's say you had a reverse mortgage and what you owed $200,000. So you've taken out a reverse mortgage loan for $200,000. And so you get a statement. It would show you've borrowed $200,000. It would show what the interest was for the month. Let's say the interest, I'll make it a round number, was $1,000. Well, if you say, I'm not going to send in the $1,000 interest, we would say, no problem. Next month, your statement would show that you owe $201,000. So the only thing you're really doing by getting a reverse mortgage is just giving yourself the ability to say, I don't think I'll send a payment in this month. And instead, we will just simply increase your balance by whatever the interest was that you would have otherwise paid. And you just really do that every month. Every month you get a statement, shows how much you owe, shows what the interest is. If you don't send the interest payment in, we don't care. Your balance goes up next month. If you have the equity available, like an equity line available on your loan, it will also show in the statement how much you have available to draw out, kind of like a regular equity line. And so at the end of the day, we're simply providing a loan. That's it. Except we're not asking you to pay it every month. We're not asking for a payment. We're just going to wait. And we're going to wait. And every month you could get the statement. And it shows that there's interest. But you're like, I'm not going to pay you guys. We literally wait until the day comes when either you've either passed away or you've decided to get a different loan to get paid back all the money we had loaned, plus all the interest that didn't get paid. So we will deliver a statement that shows how much is owed on the house, much like a regular loan. And at the end of the day, if the kids inherit the home, we'll go through that in a slide coming up. They simply have to pay off that and get their own loan, or they can sell the house and pay off again what is owed. But rest assured, if you get a reverse mortgage, and let's say you've borrowed $200,000, and let's say you had an equity line available for $50,000. So your statement would show that you owe $200,000. It would show you have $50,000 available. And let's say the interest for the month was $1,000. If you didn't pay that, next month you'd owe $201. And let's just say you did that every month and you never made a payment. Is there ever a point in time when you can run out? Is there a point in time when we'll say, oh, you owe too much or your house is not worth that much? And the answer is no. Once you've received a reverse mortgage, you get to stay in the house the rest of your life. Even if you live for 30 years after you get the reverse mortgage. What if you got a reverse mortgage when you were 62 and you lived to 102? That's 40 years. Is that too long? Nope. That's the deal we make. And what if for 40 years, every single month, you didn't send a payment in? Well, your balance will have gone up every month, right? Because you're not making a payment. But it can never get to the point where we say you owe too much or there's not enough equity in your home. You get to stay there as long as you want. So as we're talking about this refinance, when we decide how much to lend, the first thing we need to do is say, oh, do you have a loan on your house currently? let's say that you owe $200,000 on your current loan. And I said, oh, you're qualified for a $300,000 mortgage. By the way, I have an example that's coming up. I would say the first thing I need to do is pay off your $200,000 that you owe to your current lender. I pay that off. And I'd say you have $100,000 left. What would you like to do? You could say, I'll leave it on that line of credit, Ryan. I'll come and get it for a rainy day. Okay. So every month you'll see that $100,000 is available. You could say, how about if you give me $20,000 right now, Ryan, and then $1,000 a month until that $100,000 runs out? Sure. So when you do a refinance of the reverse mortgage, the first thing we're doing is simply paying off your current loan. And that's the loan balance you now owe us because we paid off your current loan. And then the rest of it, you decide how to run it. If you want to leave all the money on the line of credit, leave it there. If you want to take some out every month, take some out every month. But just know that at the end of the day, the deal is still this. We don't care how much you borrowed. We don't care how much of it you've used. We're never going to say, you owe us a payment this month. We're never going to do that to you. We're just going to wait until one day, either you pass away and your heirs sell the home, or maybe you sell the home. That's when we get paid back. But we don't own the home. You always maintain the ownership. You always maintain the decision power on how you want the loan to work. So how do we decide to lend? And this is where we really bring it to current day in terms of what's happening with our loans. Because we lend based on how old you are. We lend based on the value of the home. And we lend based on what current interest rates are. So the older you are, the more money we'll lend you. The more your house is worth, the more money we'll lend you. The lower the interest rates, the more money we'll lend you. Well, if we think about what's been happening with interest rates over the last 2.5 years, they've been going up, up, up. And so that means right now, reverse mortgages, if you go to refinance, you're actually getting a smaller loan amount than you were 2.5 years ago because interest rates are higher than they were in the past. So whenever we're looking at lending somebody money, sometimes maybe interest rates are a little too high and we can't get you as much money as you wanted. So for some people, they might not be getting reverse mortgages right now, even though they are old enough, right? They're at least 62. Even though they may have a house that's worth $1 million. Maybe they owe more than what I can lend them because interest rates are higher. Let's say that they owed $500,000 on a house that was worth $1 million, and they were 70 years old. I might say, look, you're 70, your house is worth $1 million, but because interest rates are high, I can only loan you $400,000. Well, you can see that's a problem. If I can only loan $400,000, but their house mortgage or what they owe to the bank, their current bank is $500,000, it's not going to work. I cannot get them a reverse mortgage because they owe more than what I can get them. And so that's been happening more than often than has had, I'd say, in the last few years. And so it's creating an interesting dynamic between some people that really want a reverse mortgage, but they might not get one. Whereas maybe their neighbor can get one because maybe their neighbor doesn't owe as much on their house, or maybe their neighbor is older, or maybe their house is worth more. So we're always dealing with these variables to figure out how much to lend somebody. So let's say that you're a homeowner, which many of you are. And let's say that you had a house that was worth $1 million. You owed $500,000, and I can only get you a loan for $400,000. Well, that's not going to work, right? I can't get you a loan big enough to pay off your current loan. So there's no loan there for me. No loan there for you. So what some people have decided to do is they say, well, if we can't get money, get a loan, refinance our current loan, maybe we need to downsize. And so in our industry, we have a reverse mortgage that's a purchase loan, right? That may sound kind of funky. Like, how would that work? I'm going to buy a house and have no mortgage payments. So we'll talk a little bit more about the reverse purchase coming up. But the idea is that when you buy a home using a reverse mortgage, you're putting a down payment down. We're giving you a loan. But since you've used a reverse mortgage, when you get that first statement and it shows how much you've borrowed to buy the home, remember, it's going to say you don't have to send a payment in because you've used the reverse mortgage as a purchase loan. So it acts just like the refinance after you've bought the home. And we'll go through an example of that. Okay. And I think one of the reasons why I'm talking more about purchases nowadays is if you remember the last slide where I said higher interest rates are causing our loan amounts to be smaller, we're running across a lot of homeowners who just can't get loans big enough to refinance their reverse mortgage. And so they are deciding we need to sell the home. And so I'm talking to them more about using a reverse mortgage to buy their next home. So we'll go through an example of that. So there you have a reverse mortgage, whether it's a refinance or whether it's a purchase loan. You're simply borrowing money from a bank. We're not asking anything other than to put a lien on title, just like a regular loan. And then how do we get paid back? Well, if you're not making payments to us every month, we don't care. We'll just keep track of all those payments that weren't made. And when you go to pay off the house in the future, we'll just ask to be paid back all the money we're owed at that point in time. So let's look at an example of a refinance here on a reverse mortgage. Let's say we have a home that's worth $1.2 million. And the loan amount that is owed to the current lender, not a reverse, just a regular lender, is owed $400,000. Well, based on the age, 75 years old, that's why I have the age up there, based on the value of the house being $1.2 million, and knowing what interest rates are right now, I might tell this individual, oh, you qualify for a $500,000 loan. So just like in our previous couple slides, the first thing we have to do, if we know they owe $400 to their current bank and we're going to give them a loan for $500, well, we're going to pay that $400,000 off, which means they have $100,000 left from the loan amount I gave them. So they can tell me, Ryan, that $100,000 extra that I had available, I don't want it right now. Can you just leave that on the line of credit for me and I'll come back and get it when I need it? Sure. In that case, you're only borrowing $400. The extra $100 goes on the line of credit. You don't get charged for it. It just sits there and it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed to be there because this is an FHA insured loan. So you'd get a statement. Statement would show you've borrowed $400,000 on your home. You have $100,000 available in the future. Under the $400,000 that you've borrowed, remember, it's going to show an interest cost for the month. And if you don't send that interest in, we don't care. We'll simply add it to what you already owe us and send you a new statement next month. And along the way, let's say that you took some money off that $100,000 line of credit. No problem. Let's say you said, Ryan, I know I have $100,000 available on my line of credit. I need to take 20. Say, okay, here's your 20. Since you've taken 20,000, now you owe that to us, right? Because you've actually taken it out of the equity. You've made it part of your loan. And so you didn't generate a mortgage payment. You just simply made your reverse mortgage balance higher because you took some of that money to spend on your line of credit. So that was the refinance. Simply keeping your home, paying off your current loan with a new reverse mortgage, and getting a statement every month showing how much you owe, showing what the interest cost was. If you don't send the payment in, we don't care. Your balance will just go up next month, and you can do that for as long as you live. Let's talk about conversation here. Like I mentioned, I'm having with a lot of clients who are asking about reverse mortgages, and maybe they're finding that refinancing is not going to work. Maybe they're not getting enough money from the reverse when they refinance. Maybe I've told them I can't get them a loan big enough to pay off what they owe. So let's take a look at a $1.2 million home. Client is 75 years old, and they're going to move. So you put the house on the market. You get $1.2 million for it. Now you had a mortgage on it, so the mortgage got paid off, and after the cost of selling the home, let's say that a client were to net $750,000. So that may be you. Whoever's selling the home now has $750,000 cash, but they've sold their current home. Well, now we talk about a reverse purchase loan because you're looking to go buy a home. And so in this case, maybe you have found a home for $700,000 that's going to fit your needs. And you'd say, okay, I had $750,000 from the sale of my previous home. This house is $700,000. Maybe I should just use all that money and buy it cash. Well, a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to lock up all the money they just got from the sale of their previous home into a new home, because then they can't get access to it again. Well, so maybe they're thinking, I'll get a loan. Okay. Getting a regular loan nowadays is kind of tough, like a regular 30-year fix, because of those interest rates being higher. It's harder to qualify, and the payments are kind of big. So a client's thinking, man, what other option do I have? And I would say, well, how about this reverse purchase loan? So in this case, based on the age of whoever's buying the home, right? Remember I said I loan money based on age, 75 years old. I would say, based on your age and the purchase price of the home, which again is $700,000, I'm going to ask that you put down $305,000, and I'm going to give you a loan for $395,000. So this is kind of cool, because when the home was sold, the previous home was sold, you had $750,000. Now you're buying a new home at $700,000, and you're only using $395,000 from the money that you had from the sale of the previous home, which means you still have a nice chunk of cash in the bank. You still have about $355,000 in the bank. You have a new home, and you have bought that home with a loan where, when the statement shows up, it shows how much you owe. Doesn't ask you to make a payment. Just simply says, if you don't send a payment in this month, your balance will go up by whatever the interest cost was. So this is a reverse purchase loan. And we see this being used quite a bit nowadays, and mostly because interest rates being higher means those refinance loans I was talking about, people are not getting as much money. And they're saying, boy, I really needed more money than what that reverse mortgage was going to give me when I refinanced. So I'll go to a situation here where I'll sell the home. Because let's look back over here. See, for this client, or whoever this may be, if they just refinanced their $1.2 million home, they would only have $100,000 in the bank, right? Because after paying out their $400,000 loan, they only have $100,000 left. And that might not be enough. Over here, if you were to sell that home and go buy a lower priced home, you have a home with a reverse mortgage on it, right? You used a reverse mortgage to buy the home. You have no mortgage payment, but you were able to retain $355,000. So we see that this gives you options. We see that there's just different ways to look at using this product. And the whole idea, as far as I'm concerned, is to make sure we're creating enough cash flow for you to have a long and healthy retirement. All right. What happens after you have a reverse mortgage for a while? Let's say that, well, that day comes when we meet our maker. What happens to the kids? What are they going to do with this house that has a reverse mortgage on there? Well, it's pretty much like if you had a regular loan on a house. Let's say in this case, the house is worth $850,000 and $600,000 was owed on the reverse mortgage. Okay. Well, the heirs have options. First of all, as long as we've had everything set up properly, a trust was done and the kids have inherited the home, then we as the mortgage company just say, hey, kids, your parents owed us $600,000. Whatever you want to do is up to you. If you want to keep the house or sell it, it's up to you. You can get a year to make a decision. Yeah, you can actually get a year to make it happen. And in the meantime, if you want to keep the home, just refinance. Get your own loan. Pay us off the $600,000 we're owed. We don't care what the house is worth. We don't really care about anything. We just know that we're owed $600,000. So heirs, if you're going to keep this home, go get your own loan, and now we're paid off and we go away. Remember, we were just a lien on title. We're not asking for anything other than to be paid back what we're owed. Now, maybe the kids don't want to keep the home, so they can put it on the market and sell it, and whatever the difference is between what the loan balance is and what the sale brought, well, then that extra, or that difference, I should say, goes to the heirs. So at the end of the day, on a reverse mortgage, when there's equity in a home, it's just like a regular selling a house with a regular loan on it. Lender gets paid off, kids get the rest. Or if the kids don't want to give up the house, just refinance and get their own loan, and we come off title. All right, what if a house is upside down? Now, this happened a lot back in 2008, And we know that, right? A lot of us went through that when homes were lost. Well, what happens if a reverse mortgage home ends up underwater because maybe the clients had the loan for the long time? Maybe the housing market is down. In this case, the house is worth $700 and $750 is what's owed on the loan. Now, remember, while the parents are alive, it doesn't really matter how much they owe, right? They get to live there the rest of their lives, even if it's upside down. They don't have to worry about making payments or on the loan or anything. That's why a lot of people were happy to have reverse mortgages at that point in time, because a lot of homes were upside down. And so with the reverse mortgage, we're like, okay, whatever happens, we have to pick up the loss if indeed the home is, let's say the home was foreclosed on. That's our problem, right? Because we're taking a loss. But let's go back to this example here. Let's say that the house is worth $700. The reverse mortgage balance is $750. And the kids want to keep the house, but they don't want to pay the $750,000 loan balance on the house only worth $700. That doesn't make any sense, right? The house is upside down. Well, in the case of a government-insured reverse mortgage that we're talking about here, which is the lion's share of the reverse mortgages that have been done, FHA will actually help out the kids. They'll say, look, kids, your parents passed. They owed us $750. The house is only worth $700 according to the appraisal. Why don't you just go find a refinance loan or pay us $665 and we will get rid of the $750 loan balance. In other words, FHA is actually taking an $85,000 loss, so that way the kids don't have to worry about inheriting a home that has a reverse mortgage on it. And, after 15, 16 years, I've run across situations like this, and the kids were very concerned. They were saying, geez, the house upside down, does that mean the reverse mortgage company just owns the house? Well, no. Remember, we're just a loan on title. And for that matter, FHA really does want the family to end up with the home. So in this case, FHA is really erasing the upside down portion. They're cutting a check for $85,000 to pay that loan balance down so the kids don't have to. Now, what about if the kids really don't want the house? What will happen? Well, if the kids don't do anything, then the house could actually be foreclosed on. And this is how that works. Once we, the reverse mortgage company, have found out the borrowers have passed away, we're going to send a letter out and we're going to say, hey, heirs, you have 30 days to get a hold of us to tell us what you want to do. You want to keep the house? You want to sell it? We don't care. If you get in touch with us and you have all your paperwork in order, we'll actually give you up to a year to make a decision. You can sell it or buy it. Sell it or refinance it. But rest assured, if we don't hear from anybody in the 30 days after we send that letter, well, then we're going to have to foreclose because we don't think anybody's around. We think maybe nobody wants the house. We think the house might be empty and we need to get paid back. Now, we can't just take the house. It's not our house. That's why we have to do like a normal foreclosure. We send a letter out again to the heirs saying, heirs, we haven't heard from you. You have 90 days to get a hold of us during this notice of default. And if you don't, then we'll start preparing to sell it at auction, just like a foreclosure. And if we don't hear from the kids in 90 days, then we'll go ahead and put it to a trustee sale 20 days later, and it goes to auction. So a reverse mortgage home, really the kids do have a lot of control over it after the parents pass away, but the kids have to take action. They got to call us and tell us what they want. We'll get them up to a year to help them decide or to make something happen, but they got to communicate with us. So it's not a situation where, number one, we want the house. Believe me, as lenders, we don't want to have to foreclose on a home. We don't want to have to send it to auction. That's very expensive for us. What if an investor doesn't buy it? Then we have to take it back as a bank-owned property, and we don't want to do that. That's why we give the heirs plenty of time to step up and do something with the house. So let's just take a look here at some questions that I do get quite often. Maybe you have this question in mind. So when we give a reverse mortgage out, does that change the ownership of the home? And no, of course not. Again, we are just a loan on title. If any of you have a loan on your house right now, Does that mean the bank owns your home? No. I mean, yeah, someone might be silly and say, oh, the bank owns my house because I own money, but that's never the case. A bank, whether it's a regular loan or reverse mortgage, we're simply just putting a lien on title saying, hey, don't forget about us. We're owed money and we want to be paid back one day. But that does not give us ownership rights. It just gives us a right to be paid back. So maybe the heirs might be concerned with what happens to the equity. When they pass away, when my parents pass away, does the bank get the equity? Do they own the home? And again, remember, we're not homeowners as a bank. We're simply wanting to get paid back for whatever we've loaned. And after we're paid back, whatever's left over, well, that belongs to the heirs of the estate. So the heirs can certainly inherit a home with a reverse mortgage. You do need to make sure you have all your paperwork in order, right? That means the house should be in a trust. Means if it's just the parents on title and they both pass away, that could lead to probate. You don't want to do that. So the heirs and the parents should have that trust in place. And we as a reverse mortgage company, we respect whatever the wishes of everybody in the trust, and we just follow orders at that point in time. So it really has to do with what the heirs want. Now let's go back to a client that's just got a reverse mortgage. Maybe you've just received a reverse mortgage yourself, and you have borrowed $400,000, like in my previous example, and you had $100,000 on your line of credit. Let's say you used the extra $100,000 as the years went by. So you borrowed the extra $100,000. Now you owe $500,000. Plus, if you haven't made any payments, which you don't have to, that balance is inching up, right, every month. Well, let's say you live a long time, right? Let's say that you get this loan at 62 and you borrowed $400,000 and you live to 100 and maybe you owe $900,000 and maybe the house is only worth $800,000. Should you ever be concerned that the bank is going, man, this house is upside down, the client's living a long time? Should we send them a letter that says they've run out of money or they've lived too long? They've lived for 40 years. That's too long. And of course, the answer, as we should know, is no. You can't outlive a reverse mortgage. Well, I should take that back. Actually, an FHA insured reverse mortgage, I believe, has a 150-year age limit, believe it or not. So at this point in time, though, I don't know anybody that's lived to be 150 years old and had a reverse mortgage. So as I say on a regular basis, you can't outlive a reverse mortgage. You get to stay there as long as you want, regardless of how much you borrowed, how much interest is added on, how long it's been, what the market's doing. We don't look at any of those things. We just simply say in the beginning, we promised them a loan. We promised them that we would never bother them again. And that's how we continue to function. Now, there are some things, though, that a client has to do, or you as a borrower would have to do to make sure you do keep yourself in good standing on a reverse. It is possible to get foreclosed on a reverse mortgage. And one of those ways is if you get a reverse mortgage and you leave and you don't come back. See, we're going to mail out something once a year. It's going to have you fill it out where you're basically saying, yeah, I still live here. And that's important because we want to make sure that the owner does come back and make sure the house is okay. So we want the client to occupy the home. We even say the client can go somewhere for a year, right? But we need to make sure you're back when that year is up, so that way you haven't violated the occupancy rule. So not too tough, right? Most people don't go away for a year. Sometimes even if we have to go get, a medical procedure done or, something's going on with us or we're staying with somebody for a while, a year is quite a bit. And then you only have to make it back for a day to reestablish that you're there. And then you get another 12 months. So this is a rule that I think is not too difficult for most of my clients to handle, even if they're in and out of the house, because you simply are just making sure you make it back there once a year. And of course, we want you there, ideally more than that, to make sure the house is okay. But that's what you can do with the reverse mortgage if you need to go somewhere. If you don't pay your homeowner's insurance or your property taxes or your homeowner's association, if you have one, then we might say, you're not paying these bills. And so we will issue a notice of default. It's basically putting you on notice. Hey, pay those bills. And there's been a lot of things that have happening actually with the reverse mortgages and late property taxes, because it used to be a bigger deal. But there's actually some programs now that can help reverse mortgage clients get caught up on taxes, stuff that's done through California. So there's some ways that even if you get behind on taxes, that you could actually still make it without making a payment. So, but the idea here is that we want to try to keep these things up, so that way we don't have to send out letters and scare everybody. Finally, how you make sure you stay in good standing with the reverse mortgage is keeping the house in the condition it was when you got the loan. So I've been doing this for about 15 years, somewhere in there. And I really haven't any clients that have had a problem with this rule. But I do know that there has been sometimes when a house is destroyed or something happens to the house, it burns down. Well, you got to get that house back together. Or if you had maybe a hurricane blew through and it busted the windows out, you got to get those windows fixed. So the house needs to keep its health and safety up. And my clients I've done loans for, not really natural disasters haven't happened to them. No one's ever notified us that their windows are broken. And so I just don't see very many clients having a problem with this last one, maintaining a house, because we're not going out to check on it unless we've been notified that something happened and we should go check on it. So those are the rules that you have to, you got to follow these to keep the reverse mortgage in good standing. But you'll notice that making a mortgage payment is not on here. So we're never going to send you anything that say, oh, you owe so much, you got to start making payments, or you lived for 40 years. This is only a 30-year loan, right? You notice there's nothing like that in here. We just simply want you to make sure you're coming back to that house once a year. Want to make sure you're trying to keep the property in good order and that you're paying those taxes and insurance. So I'll leave it to you all if you want to ask some questions here. One thing I don't talk a whole lot, I think, about what other people have done in terms of getting cash or what they've done with their loan, because I think everyone's a little different. I just want you all to be aware of the fact that we're just talking about a pretty much a good old-fashioned loan here. And the difference is we don't expect to be paid back until, you pass away, really. And that could be however long. It could be 30 or 40 years before we get paid back. And we just have to sit and wait and wait and wait one day to get paid back. And we'll wait as long as you want. And that's how the reverse mortgage works out for some individuals who just don't want to have to worry about outliving their money.
All right. Well, reverse mortgage is a great leverage using the equity of your home. And the good thing is, it's the equity that you have now, that they look at. So if you do your reverse mortgage today, then they look at your equity today. So let's say in about 2 years from now, the value of the home went down, then you're still locked into that reverse mortgage, So Ryan, I was always promoting reverse mortgage HECM, the FHA HECM, as a purchase. And I know that there are different reverse mortgages out there. So can you give us a little bit of insight on what to choose, especially right now when jumbo loans or jumbo reverse mortgage are also coming out, because I know that the FHA has a certain limitation, right?
FHA does have limitations on what they'll use on a value for a house. So we have, to clear up the different kind of loans that we have, the two big headings would be a FHA insured reverse mortgage. And that means HECM, home equity conversion mortgage. That's the one the government insures. Then you have basically a non-FHA reverse, and there's all kinds of names for it. Jumbo, proprietary. But the idea is that we either have a government insured reverse or a non-government insured reverse. And why would you choose one over the other? And really, it comes down to usually the value of the home. So once a house is usually worth over about 1.4 million, the government insured reverse mortgage stops increasing the loan amount. In other words, if your house is worth, let's say, 1.1 million, and I said you qualify for a $500,000 loan, and you said, oh wait, no, it's not worth 1.1 million, Ryan, it's worth 5 million. I would say you still qualify for the same loan amount for the $500,000 loan. In other words, FHA is not going to let us lend more money just because you have a real expensive home.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of the token, which you have the non-FHA loans, these are private investors like banks, like big giant Wall Street banks, who
Mm-hmm.
would say, Ryan, we don't we don't have a limit on what we'll use for value. So if you have a client that has a house that's worth $10 million, we'll let you use that $10 million loan. So that $10 million value. So we have two different loans that really delineate them is if your house is worth probably more than 1.4 million, you're probably going to use a non-government loan because you'll get more money.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing as many of these right now because over the last 2.5 years, their rates went up quite a bit and the loan amounts dropped quite a bit. So I would say the most popular loan that we have is still the government insured reverse. And that's simply because, first of all, the rates are good on it. And since they are using a value that's up to about 1.2 million right now, a lot of houses fit right in that area. So
Mm-hmm.
the government insured reverse mortgage is the most popular. Now, in the future, as rates start to drop, the non-FHA loan may start to come back because those rates will start to drop and it'll seem a little bit more palatable to get one of those non-FHA loans. Now, non-FHA means it's not insured by the government. It means that it's just these private companies that are lending money and they have to, well, basically take on all the risk. And that's why the interest rates are higher. An FHA loan, remember, the government is saying, hey, lender, if something goes wrong, we got your back. And so we'll lend money at a lower rate on an FHA insured reverse because we know if something goes wrong, the government pays us.
Mm-hmm.
So a non-FHA reverse mortgage, your interest rates are going to be probably somewhere in the 6 to 7% range, a lot like a regular loan is right now. Your non-FHA loans are probably closer to 9.5%. So you can see where a lot of people would say, I think I'll use the FHA loan if I can, Ryan, simply because the rates seem to be much better.
So for let's say here in the valley, usually I would say single family home. If I want to downsize, I sell my home for let's say 2 million, 2.5, and then go up all the way to maybe Santa Clarita or San Bernardino and buy a house that is 700,000, and then that means that I can put down the proceeds from the sale of my home based on that 700,000. But if I want to go to, let's say, a nicer area where the price is 2 million, then I have to come up with my own money for me to be doing the reverse mortgage, or is that not going to qualify?
No, so if you're going to, whatever the purchase price of the home is, we're going to give you money towards that. Okay. And so it's just if you're going to rebuy a house because you want to try to get more money in your pocket. In other words, if we looked at these two examples again, let's look at the refinance when you have a $1.2 million home. Okay. And you'll see that on that $1.2 million home, if a client is only getting a $500,000 loan and they're like, okay, Ryan, after you pay off my $400,000 loan that I owe to my current lender, I'm only going to get $100,000 cash. I need more money than that. Well, that's a point in time when I might say, well, what you need to do is get yourself a lower priced home.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case here, they sell the $1.2 million home. And with the money they have left over after paying off the loan that they owed on their house and the cost of selling the home, in this case, a client nets $750,000. Well, the idea here is that we're still doing a reverse mortgage, but since we have a lower priced home, it's a better cash position for the client to be in. So this client would still get a reverse mortgage on the home they're buying. They would still have no monthly mortgage payments. But as opposed to the last slide where in their current home, they'd only get to keep $100,000. In this case, they have $355,000 in the bank. I'm going to adjust my light here for a second.
So are you saying that we're limited to because of the price of the total amount of the FHA loan that you can get, we are limited to a certain price of the home that we can buy if we're doing HECAM as a purchase? Or can we add on to the down payment. Let's say this 1.2 is paid in full, and I have almost 1 million,
Okay.
in my pocket after I sell my home,
Okay.
and I want to buy a home that is in Puerto Ranch, and the thing is that it is 2 million.
Okay.
Would I be able to put down a bigger down payment and still do a reverse of
Yeah. Okay.
20K?
So I get what you're saying. Yes. Well, here this starts to get a little more sophisticated though, because once you're buying a home that's probably worth about more than 1.3 million or 1.4 million, we're going to use the non-FHA product,
Mm-hmm.
and they lend on a percentage basis less. So uh, let's say you're 75 and you're buying a $2 million home and you use the non-FHA loan. You're probably going to have to put down 1.2 million to get that house. Okay. Because
Mm-hmm.
the non-FHA loans want a bigger down payment on those big houses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we see probably more people not buying like a lot more expensive than what they had before. Try to
Mm-hmm.
keep it within the what you had before, or
Or
I was telling if you
downsize.
can find something less than the 1.2 million, that's great. You end up with more in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you start really going for those more expensive homes, it becomes less efficient because on the purchase you got to put a pretty big down payment down on them.
No, I
Um,
see.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense. Must
right.
it's always much better to go this way. That way, if you retain, if the client retains, like in this example, 355,000, then they have a cash flow that they can either invest, that can have a monthly income for them, like a dividend, or they can use that and you know do something with it, like invest on a store or something. when they're when they're refinancing, when they're retiring, they want to maybe own a little business, and then they can use that. Is that something that they can do?
Yeah, I think the idea here is that we're unlocking that equity. We're,
Mm-hmm.
we're turning it into cash that can be used,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever you'd want to use that for, buying a rental property, or just putting in the bank, or putting in investment, or doing something with it. It's no longer in that house that you had before where you can't get to it, and
Right, right.
and that's what I mean. I do run across so many individuals right now, and they have so much equity in these homes. A lot of you have a lot of equity in your homes,
Yeah.
and if you can't get to that equity, well, it's not doing you any good. It,
Right.
it feels good to have equity, but at the same time, if you can't actually use it for whatever you need to get done or whatever you want to do to enjoy yourself, then it's really not serving a purpose. So if you can, and a lot of people are finding new properties in different areas of California where the price difference really makes it worthwhile for them to move. And for some people, it's not far. Some people are going right from LA and they're moving to maybe like Temecula, and they're seeing the houses cost half as much.
Mm-hmm.
And that type of move is a 40-mile drive, 50-mile drive, not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
Climate, almost the same, but they're getting into a newer neighborhood, they're getting a newer home, and they're putting a ton of cash in the bank along the way.
Yeah.
And so that's probably the biggest trend that I am taking part of right now is the LA, Orange County, where the housing prices, San Diego County, where the housing prices are just doing so well that they're making big ground. They're making a big movement in terms of cash,
Mm-hmm.
short movement in terms of miles, big
Mm-hmm.
movement in terms of cash when they do that downsize.
Yes, because years ago, when you move out to, let's say, for people who are retiring, like when I was in the Bay Area and they would like to retire, they would like to go, maybe they would go to Placerville, to far away places, so that way they can buy a cash from the proceeds of their home and still have money. But today, the way the developers have set up, subdivisions and new areas, everything is self-contained. You see developments in Temecula or even in Manistee, in Beaumont, places like that before it was just like too far away. But once you're there, everything is there too. You have the hospital, you have shopping, Everything is just modern too, and it's all master planned. So it's a great way to really strategize on how you can prepare yourself for retirement. you know um, there are some homeowners that want to stay in their home, just and it's falling apart, it's too big, they cannot maintain it, and there's only mom there living there, and it's not really practical for mom to stay there, even though they are right here in the valley. Maybe, oh, I want to stay in the valley because my friends are here, and meanwhile their house is getting old. But the value of the house is basically the lot. you know so if they sell that and and downsize, move to maybe Santa Clarita or maybe San Bernardino, Temecula,
Yeah.
they can have a big chunk of money in their hand that they can use for their long-term care, for whatever they want to do in the next last third of their life. But you don't want to do that when it's too late, when you start getting sick, falling apart, and you can't make your decision, and some other people will make decisions for you. you know that's the thing. Right now, the reason why I'm promoting this is because I want homeowners, especially baby boomers, to really think about preparing themselves, while they still have their mind, they still have their health. you know Prepare yourself, leverage on the equity of your home. Your kids will be able to take care of themselves, don't worry about it. Whatever is left, they're going to enjoy it too anyway. you know
Oh
so
yeah, indeed. And I do have the clients that do these moves and get to a different place. A lot of them end up saying, "Man, I don't know why I waited. I wish I would have done it sooner." And because it's the fear of the unknown, like that something's going to be so much different, or there's going to be something you don't know about. And we have a saying. It's like no matter where you go, there you are. If you're happy with your home in LA and you're going to be happy with the home in another place. Except you're going to have that extra financial giddy up
mhm,
to put the cherry on it. And especially for clients that are in older homes, like you'd mentioned, a
mhm.
lot of people are moving from homes that need maintenance, they need work, things to be done, and it's like when you get yourself right into something that's built within the last 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you find yourself having a little more freedom
Yeah,
of
relief.
wanting to do things because you
Mm-hmm.
don't think, oh, I can't go where, I can't do this because this needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's one of those honeydew lists, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden you find yourself having more time to think about, man, what should I do today? I don't got to worry about doing those things I had before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So that's the lifestyle you want. So, well, thank you so much for giving us the time to share us all these new updates on the reverse mortgage and giving us a more positive outlook on what reverse mortgage is. Um, I really appreciate you coming here and spending some time with me. As a big educator as you are, going all over California, here you are, you're spending 1 hour of your time with us, and sharing us all these new strategies on how to leverage on your equity. So if they want to reach out to you, you can always call him directly. Here's his 800 number. And if you want to know more about how to apply the reverse mortgage on a purchase, I am a senior real estate specialist here in Los Angeles. I have practiced for over 35 years now, started in the Bay Area, 10 years in the Sacramento area, 30 years in the Bay Area, and now I'm here in Los Angeles. So I really like motivating people and making you see the what you have. What is it that you have rather than what you lack. you know there's always, in any given moment in the market, there's always a fear, there's always this tendency of not wanting to make a decision, whether it was during the time that we have multiple offers and the houses are going up like crazy, and now that the interest rates are up, people are again in fear. There are ways to own property, there are ways to change your lifestyle. For retirees, as Ryan is saying, there's more and more people now that are looking at reverse mortgage second look and see that it is really indeed a good way to go, preparing yourself to retire by downsizing and taking that equity that you have sitting in your home and leveraging on it, whether using it for your long term care or for traveling or for investment. Um, it's the perfect time to do it because there's still a lot of demand for homes that you have, homes that you own right now. Okay, so thank you for your time. And again, next live stream, I will have another topic for you. And for now, reverse mortgage is a great way to leverage your equity. Do you have anything to say, Ryan?
The only thing I can say is this: we know that 60% of the homes that were sold last year were sold by somebody 57 years and older.
Yeah.
So if you ever thought that maybe people in retirement are not moving, that's just not the case. That's a huge number, and that number is expected to increase, where we might see 65% of the homes, 70% of the homes are going to be sold last year and this year are by someone 57 years and older. So people are doing it. And so if you ever thought maybe, I'm older, I don't want to bother with that, boy, so many people are doing it. So you just check it out and see why they're doing it. See what it is that's making them want to move after they're retired.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, thank you, um, everyone, for watching us, and we'll see you in the next live stream.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Okay,
evening.
thank you. Bye bye. So,